Sorsby looks to NFL after legal fight with NCAA over his eligibility for gambling. Transfer quarterback Brendan Sorsby will not play for Texas Tech this fall and will enter the NFL supplemental draft instead, ending an unprecedented legal fight over the college eligibility for a player who had acknowledged betting on college and pro sports, including some on his own team while at Indiana 4 years ago. Cody Campbell, the billionaire booster who is chairman of the school regents, wrote in an open letter Monday night that Sorsby will not be part of the team. This decision was made with Brendan and his family and is purely an output of practical analysis of the situation, Campbell wrote. Brendan and Texas Tech stand on very solid and legitimate legal ground, but he faces a June 22nd deadline to be eligible to enter the NFL's supplemental draft, and there is no practical way to resolve all the various pending legal disputes and ensure his eligibility prior to this date.
An unlocked iPhone 14 for just $299? This renewed 128 gig model gives you a vivid OLED display, 5G, and the freedom to choose your carrier. Want to check today's Amazon deal? Scan the QR code now or visit grabdeal.us/6 before it's gone.
This is the only viable and fair path for Brendan and his future, as well as for his teammates and our university. That came exactly 1 week before the deadline for Sorsby to apply for the NFL supplemental draft. It was also on the same day that the NCAA and Big 12 had filings in different courts, challenging a temporary injunction that had cleared the way for Sorsby to play despite being declared ineligible after he acknowledged making thousands of bets worth at least $90,000 while in college. Those included at least 40 bets on Indiana while he was a freshman there in 2022, though none on the game in which he played for the Hoosiers that season. Sorsby did not play a down for the defending Big 12 champion Red Raiders. He transferred to Texas Tech in January for a reported multi-million-dollar deal after playing the past 2 seasons for Cincinnati, another Big 12 school. Campbell, while not revealing any figures, said Texas Tech will not seek the return of any payments already made to Sorsby through his nil agreements with the university. Earlier on Monday, the NCAA asked a Texas appeals court to stay a temporary injunction that cleared the way for Sorsby to play this fall despite being declared ineligible for gambling, while the Big 12 Conference filed a federal complaint warning the Texas Attorney General to stay out of a case that has rattled college sports. The filings in separate courts raise the stakes in the fight over whether Sorsby can play and who makes that decision. In documents filed with the Court of Appeals for the 7th District of Texas at Amarillo, the NCAA asked for an emergency motion to stay the June 8 injunction granted by a Lubbock County court in favor of Sorsby, who has admitted he has a gambling addiction and has made thousands of bets, included some on his own team when he was a freshman at Indiana. The NCAA had asked for a resolution of the case by Aug. 28, which it said would spare the potential disruption of a ruling after Texas Tech begins its season on SEP trial, is currently scheduled for February, well after the season ends. The NCAA has long banned players for gambling, but Texas Tech says Sorsby, who transferred there in January after the past 2 seasons at Cincinnati, would be better off on the team for his mental health and well-being. The trial court's temporary injunction sweeps beyond anything Texas law permits, attorneys for the NCAA wrote. It undermines the integrity of college sports, rewrites member-adopted rules of the National Collegiate Athletic Association, immunizes Brendan Sorsby from discipline for admitted and serial violations of NCAA anti-gambling rules, incentivizes a run on courthouses across the country to challenge even the most obvious and straightforward student-athlete eligibility decisions, and demolishes the status quo. The injunction last week from Judge Ken Curry prevents the NCAA from being able to block the Sorsby's eligibility for what will be his final college season with a team among the favorites to win the Big 12 and return to the college football playoff for a second consecutive season. The Big 12, meanwhile, had filed suit in U.S. District Court in Dallas, seeking a court order backing its ability to use its bylaws for possible sanctions against Texas Tech if Sorsby plays this season. Last week, The Texas Attorney General's office warned the league of potential legal action from Texas Tech for any sanctions against the school. The Big 12 filing named Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, the Republican nominee in the U.S. Senate race this fall, as well as Texas Tech leadership, including its president, chancellor, and athletic director. It accused them of trying to prevent the Big 12 from exercising its own rules the school itself agreed to long ago. An athlete with an extensive, documented history of wagering on intercollegiate athletic contests, especially his own team's games, presents a reputational and integrity risk to the conference and its championship competition that the conference has both the right and the responsibility to address, attorneys for the Big 12 wrote. The conference is not required to accept that risk on behalf of its 15 other member institutions, their student athletes, their fans, and its commercial partners, and no government official has the power to compel it to do so. That federal lawsuit came before a meeting Monday of the Big 12 Board of Directors, which is made up of presidents and chancellors from the league's 16 schools. After meeting, the board said it was keeping all options on the table and made clear where it stands on the issue. The Big 12 has long spoken out about the dangers of sports wagering by student athletes and remains committed to protecting the competitive integrity of conference competition. Universities should not field players who have bet on their own team's games in college athletics, the statement read, not specifically naming Texas Tech or Sorsby. Big 12 athletic directors in a conference call with Commissioner Brett Yormark last week expressed opposition to Sorsby playing for the Red Raiders this season, and some even suggested maybe not playing Texas Tech if he does. Court records show that Sorsby has acknowledged making thousands of impermissible bets on pro and college sports totaling at least $90,000 during his time at Indiana, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech. That included 40 bets on Indiana while he was a freshman there in 2022, though none on the game in which he played for the Hoosiers that season. While some guidelines for penalties related to gambling have changed in recent years, NCAA rules still call for a permanent loss of eligibility for any player who wagered on his own team. At least two schools, Nebraska in the Big Ten and Georgia in the SEC, have indicated they will not schedule Texas Tech. Oklahoma Attorney General Gentner Drummond last week called on the Big 12 to suspend Sorsby and said claims by the Texas AG's office that sanctions against Texas Tech would violate antitrust laws are meritless. The Kansas Attorney General, Chris Kobach, said Monday his office would provide support to the Big 12 in any legal dispute with Paxton's office. Both states have public schools that are in the conference,